If you're like me, you've probably become a big fan of interactive computer games. Wouldn't it be great if there were some kind of interactive switch that you and I could throw that would actually change the course of history? You know what? We already have it. It's called the voting lever. So this November 5th, make sure the game ends the way you like it. Get in there and throw the switch. Vote. It counts.
For voting information, call 1-800-622-SMART.
And if you ever swallow your comm badge, that's the man to see.
We're hailing us as we engage Warp Drive, Star Trek podcast. Everybody, Star Trek podcast live and positively red raw as ever. We've all beamed in ahead of time just in case there was any kind of glitching going on anywhere aboard the USS Enterprise this time. I think we've got in front of anything that could possibly go wrong. Fortunately for us, they are well stocked in 10 backwards. This is our sort of drinking den. Aboard all starships, we've put a request in that there's a 10 backward on every ship now, so we'll see how that works out, because this is where we can talk Trek talk, banter and other bollocks, and then we beam it right up your alpha quadrant. That is how it tends to work. We have a complement. We have crew here, plucky crew members who are game for practically anything, any incursion, any infraction, and any sort of subspace anomaly that could sort of break your limbs or tear your fingers off, that kind of thing. So I have got we've got the mighty Bowlestrek here, all lit up in command yellow. That's always good to see, Chris. We've got the Rabbi from another planet. I'm not sure which station he's on this time. I think he's in the galley, because I know you've been cooking up things this week for Jewish New Year.
I cooked a bunch this Sabbath. I made beef Wellington, came out pretty good. Well, the thing is, the thing is that in 2 weeks I'm not going to be on the show because it's the Jewish New Year, right? It's a big deal. And so traditionally on the Jewish New Year, I normally have beef Wellington, Yorkshire puddings, roast potatoes, they're normal, English carvery food. Now I'm single, I wasn't going to do it. But the one thing my ex has kept, right, from me is the beef Wellington meal. So I've got to make my own. So I did a practice run this Sabbath, and boy, did it come out good. And I had my my first guest that wasn't one of my kids this week. That was kind of nice as well. Then for lunch, I made Chinese. So I had was it Szechuan beef that came out really good, lemon chicken, and
well done,
cold peanut noodles. Oh, excellent!
Well, I'm having hot dogs.
There you go. Go to my Facebook page. You'll see it all.
So you are our Neelix on this edition of the show. Where
really? Why did you just tell me to fuck myself? What, really? I'm Neelix?
Yeah, Dan, that is a terrible thing to say. Nobody likes Neelix.
We need to get one of those. We need to get one of those big white chef's hats for Rabbi.
I'm trying to think of all the chefs that have appeared on staff on the various Star Trek ships across the 60 years. So he's the nearest that I could get, because we are celebrating
we'll call him Anson Mount.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, we should have made you the captain, because he's very good in the kitchen, isn't he? And obviously, this is the 60th anniversary. We're inching closer and closer to the anniversary date itself. Everybody, I think we're less than 2 weeks away from the 60th anniversary of Star Trek. Things got pretty bad lately. She's still smiling,
or are we edging?
Whichever sounds the less dirty. It's fine. I mean, yeah, I could inch by inch. I could take on Celia Rose Gooding. That'd be pretty good. But other than that, yeah.
I would make out with a puppet. That's how hot Celia Gooding she is. She is stunning. She's gone from being very attractive
things
to
that
being
nobody wanted to hear about this week. We now have Rabbi. Apparently, things he's into includes puppets.
Puppets of her. Let me tell you, maybe a threesome with a puppet of her and a puppet of Sydney Sweeney. I'm telling you, that's although the fabric would end up very, very sticky. I don't know if they can be completely.
Jewish New Year's Eve is coming up, Rabbi.
Yeah, no, it's not like anything Jewish is always the sucky version of anything not Jewish. Jewish New Year's Eve is like, well, we get good food, but it's basically repentance and like beating yourself with witch birch twigs and slamming your bollocks into a drawer, that sort of
Sydney
stuff.
Sweeney, based on our previous conversation, if Sydney Sweeney is in the big tits chair, I think for the time being, Star Trek is in the puppets chair, and it will be for some time. Chris, you had a rough time last week. I understand that you've got bigger things to worry about this week. I get that. But your video last week covered all bases. A lot of people have been giving it very, very good reviews. You've had a lot of positive notices from your response last week. So well done.
Thanks, man. And I hadn't intended on making a video this summer. I was going to do some videos in September. That was an unplanned video. But after I witnessed the atrocity that we all got to witness last week, I had no choice. I had to air my grievances on the YouTubes. And apparently I blew up some people's speakers.
Yes.
And apparently I yelled a little too much. I'm not yelling now. I'm being
No.
I promise no yelling. Actually, I think
now you're going to get complaints from people who say they can't hear you. You're not loud enough.
Well, it would be unseemly. I don't think Gene Roddenberry did much yelling on set. I think he probably confined it to his offices there 60 years ago as he was making Star Trek happen for the very first time against the odds with a willing crew and cast of people who believed in his mission, in his dream. Even if they didn't, they believed in getting paid. You can guarantee that. We're talking about Strange New Worlds, which is kind of the flagship Star Trek show right now, believe it or not. Not had the best of seasons. It's not had the best of seasons so far. I think that must be accepted. And you wonder why we are drinking, everybody. You wonder why we are drinking. Maybe we'll feel differently this week. Wait and see. We are joined, as ever, by a live chat full of people below decks in the secondary hall and further down who are, I think they're probably drinking too as well, just because this show is enough to drive people to drink. So if you want, you can tell us what you make of this week's episode. As always, we'll be listening. We'll put them all up on the view screen and we can all commiserate together. That sort of tends to be how it works. This is meant to be a happy time, believe it or not. Star Trek's 60th anniversary. You'd never know it, but there are going to be some things to celebrate, particularly if you're fond of the old Guinness Book of Records. Nobody really talks about the Guinness Book of Records anymore because people pull stupid stunts all over social media all day, every fucking day. So who cares how many sort of chewing gums people are shoving up their nostrils for Norris McWhirter to keep a tally of now. But apparently this is still a thing, and we're going to get the Guinness World Record attempt is happening soon for the most Vulcan salutes. This is happening on Star Trek Day itself, Tuesday, the 8th of September, 2026. And it says here in the blurb, the largest Guinness World Record attempt for the Vulcan salute will be held at 6 p.m. as part of the Star Trek Lights event at the Science Museum, of all places. So you can go and participate there. It's free to enter, although you do have to book a ticket to sort of register your salute ahead of time so they can cope with any kind of abundance of attendees. I think the idea is that people turn up, they give their best salute in unison, and then somebody does a bit of a head count and they see where it's at. So is this the kind of sport that would interest you, Gary? Trekking along to an installation of any kind, to a landmark or tourist hotspot to give your best Vulcan salute? Does this appeal?
If I was in the area, I think that would be a fun, little memorable thing to do. Why not? I mean, it's fun and harmless. You never know, who you're going to meet. Hopefully all the real crazies, kind of stay home. But Dan, I'm hoping that you'll be there as the Spacebook representative.
I'll do my best. I can do the double. I can do them like that.
There you go.
Fall over while you're doing it. It's a good excuse. If there's a lady in front of you, you fall over. Then it's it's perfectly innocent, isn't it? What I was doing my salute. It just happened to be that you were stood. You were stood right there. The Vulcan salute does amuse me because there are people who simply can't do it. My good friend Charlotte Shields, try as hard as she might, bless her heart, she can't physically perform this act. But the old and the young can try. The old and the young. I didn't say that, Charlotte. The old and the young can attempt this. This is something I do like about Star Trek, actually, Rabbi. They can't pollute this with politics because the message is already there. Live long and prosper.
If you find out where the salute comes from, it'll be very polluted very quickly. You know where the salute comes from, or not?
God,
we're gonna. This is gonna fall into sexual territory.
No,
no,
nothing sexual about it whatsoever. No.
Go for it.
This is in Israel and on a couple of days outside of Israel, like on the highest holy days. The priests, the tribe of the Kohanim, right? The priests of the Jews. They go up to the front synagogues and they do a blessing. In Israel, they do it every day. As I said, outside they do it once a year. And what they do is you're not supposed to look, but they put their prayer shawl over their heads and they hold out their hands in that particular way, right? And as they chant the incantation. And Lenin was Jewish, and he looked at it. His father told him, "Don't look. You're not supposed to look." But he did look, and that's where he saw it. And it's like that's where it came from. So they find it's an evil Zionist sign. I'm sure the Discovery fans will be, if there are any left anymore, will be quite irate.
You can't win, can you? you can't win whatever it is that you do. Who's in the Jewish chair at the moment? Who's the most famous Jew in the world? Is it still Mel Brooks?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question, isn't it?
Or is it you?
William Shatner.
No. Well, Mel Brooks is a bit old. There's got to be somebody more famously Jewish. Gal Gadot, maybe?
William Shatner.
William Shatner. I would say William Shatner is above Mel Brooks in the Jewish chair.
He keeps it to himself, doesn't he? Yeah, I'm talking about people who are fragrantly, abundantly, proudly, publicly, very, very Jewish.
Like
I'd
me.
say.
Who else is there?
See, you are you. Yeah, I think you are in the Jewish chair.
Listen. If it's like next to the big boob chair with that and the armrest is lifted up, I'm fine with it.
Yes, so if you fancy this, if you're in London, I mean, obviously when records are set, then records are set to be claimed, to be beaten, aren't they? So head along to this at the Science Museum, Tuesday the 8th of September there in London to attempt this record, and then maybe somebody else can beat it. Maybe somebody in Canada or America or Australia or on Vulcan itself. Who knows? They may well try and take it back from the Brits. That could be how it works.
And you might score some phone numbers, you know.
There you go. Yeah, give it your best shot. It hasn't all been bad this year. Obviously, Starfleet Academy got cancelled, so we have had some good news.
That's untrue. It's not over yet. There's still another season. So.
We've got to see 10 more episodes.
Remember last week I called this the Amber Heard effect, where if you all remember, Amber left a little present on Johnny Depp's bed, and then she was nowhere to be seen. She was long gone by the time he discovered it. So these shows were done a long time ago. So basically, these people took a dump on a bed and ran off, and we don't even get to see the dump for like another year.
I know. It's like they should really
get that off the screen.
They really should just Batgirl it.
Too.
Why would they put this out?
That's
right?
just wrong.
I'm sure.
Because they know
I'll take that.
Yeah, this is fine.
They're tormenting us when we're doing everything that we can to boldly go, but they're making it as difficult as is possible. This crew have let us down a lot lately. Several shitty weeks of strange new worlds. Things got stranger and stranger and more boring than ever and more predictable than ever and sillier than ever, more stupid than ever, more to the point. But where will we end up this time? Stick with us. You're going to get our review of the very next episode coming right up, and then we'll connect with you again, as always, on the view screen, see what you've got to say about it all. But before we do that, let's have a look at this.
To us. Klingons. Oh, my BK Star Trek glasses? Why don't you just take my girlfriend while you're at it? Awesome. Nice work, Tiberius.
Star Trek movie glasses, $1.99 each with any BK value meal. Collect them all before the Klingons do.
You know, Chris, we may not be able to cure any of the things that are on your mind right now, but surely a cute doggy has got to go some way to putting you on a better track to enjoy some of your weekend.
Dogs make everything better, yo. Who doesn't love a puppy? If you don't love a puppy, you suck.
Bad people don't like
We're back to
dogs.
Sydney Sweeney again, aren't we? She's got a couple of great puppies. Okay, so where are we going this time?
They're almost uncontrollable.
More strange new worlds. Some of them are more strange than others, it has to be said. But yeah, it continues. We're into the second half of the season on Paramount Plus. I've signed up for Paramount Plus. Not that impressed with the picture quality, but on the other hand, I have been able to watch some other movies. I watched The Running Man the other day, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that a lot more than recent episodes of Strange New Worlds.
Well, you're talking about the original or the recent one?
The new one. But,
this is the new one.
But obviously, Strange New Worlds is the reason why I signed up for it. So in for a penny, in for a pound, Rabbi. We're sticking with it. And this is where we are this week. The episode's called Off Hour, and the synopsis goes a little like this. Unfolding in real time, the Enterprise falls into a slipstream that pushes them to a catastrophic warp threshold. I've hit a few of those in my time as well, particularly in the small hours after a night in the club. As our crew is siloed across the ship, Mabenga, do you remember him? He's the one that can't speak properly. He's crushed under a bio bed, leaving alone Christine Chappell to try and save his life. It's written by Bill Wolkoff, and that doesn't sound like a real name. Directed by Dan Liu, or Lee, or Lou, as in Lucy Liu. That's how he spells that. And this aired in the last few days. It dropped, I should say, onto Paramount Plus. I must admit, it had really worn me down this time, Chris. I wasn't. See, Chris has changed his icon. I wondered what he was playing at. So I wasn't quite dreading Strange New Worlds this week, but my hope had sort of gradually ebbed away over several weeks. I haven't enjoyed one since episode 2, I think it was. It was starting to become a bit of a chore to watch this. Did you feel the same way, Chris?
Well, there's the question of the week, which actually is in the title of the live stream. Which movie or show will Star Trek rip off this time? And my view on what it ripped off is a complete mystery, and it's not in my avatar at all. So I don't know what it was ripping off this week. I think it was a completely original idea, possibly for the first time this season. Okay, so yes, it was another ripoff because these people cannot come up with an original idea to save their lives. Although I will say, like the Griffin incident, this episode wasn't terrible. Unlike the last few weeks, I didn't want to punch my Sony X800E television set. It wasn't in danger, and those are going up in price, so I can't afford to replace my Sony. So the Sony TV was very happy. And as for the episode itself, it was okay. It had some decent moments, had some gore moments. Although they had the opportunity for a very gory scene, which they cut away from. Honestly, I'm probably glad they did that because I was eating my dinner at the time. I would say that this is in my division of Strange New Worlds episodes. So as you know, I divide these into 3. So at the top we have, that was good. In the middle, we have, I guess that was a thing. And in the bottom, we have, what the fuck is this? Discovery, hold my beer. So I would put this one at near the bottom of the top tier. So it was decent. It had some good character moments, actually some really good character moments, especially with Mbenga, although I think he's probably my favorite character on the show. And it did not break Star Trek continuity. We'll probably get into that later, but when they were talking about the new medical officer, I'm like, okay, they're going to bring on McCoy, and let's just pretend continuity didn't exist. Props to them for actually staying within continuity. So we'll get into it later. So it's bottom level decent, an improvement from last week. Does this save the show? No. Unfortunately, it's going to take a miracle to repair the damage from what we had to watch last week. And I don't see that being possible myself. I don't know, maybe. So I will say it was decent, but possibly too little, too late, because the awful episodes now completely outweigh anything that's even remotely watchable. I think it was actually in Dave Cullen's video this week. He said if you basically take the good Star Trek episodes, so maybe there's about 15 of them. Say you just look at those. This is actually, it's a decent show. It's not the best show, but it's a decent Star Trek show. It does fit with the other ones. So I would advocate Skydance / Paramount, when you do release these on physical media, just release a best of disc. Include those 15 or so good episodes.
You know, that's a really good idea. That's I would buy that, and I wouldn't buy the stuff to like with all the bollocks in it, but I would. But that's a really good idea.
Yep, we need the good episodes, but unfortunately, nobody can unsee the puppet episode that had the misfortune of watching it. That is one of the most ridiculous things I have ever seen, ever. So yeah, those are my rambling thoughts. And Jack Bauer.
Yeah, I find this very, very strange. I have to say, Rabbi, I loved 24, even through a couple of iffy seasons. I followed that religiously.
Yeah, when you put these 24 clips up, I was like, oh man, I want to watch 24.
But it's been over a really long time. It's a show from the telly past now, and so it feels almost as if when 24 was on, it would have been like doing a parody of, I don't know, Starsky and Hutch or something that was big in the 70s. So not that this was a parody.
24
no, but what I'm saying, that had cultural relevance 25 years ago,
I'm
not talking about the same kind of show.
Relevance. It's 24 like invented a style of storytelling. Right, 24. I think was much more seismic in terms of television storytelling than Starsky and Hutch. I can't think of like what.
I will dispute that. I will dispute that.
Okay.
Now, in terms of the real time stuff, yes. Although I would say this style outside of the 24 count was actually pioneered by NYPD Blue. Especially the way it's shot with
that's
handheld.
I love that.
One. I've got to inject here. One quick thing about 24, which I loved. Yeah, there were a couple of really, really bad seasons, but overall very watchable. But even the quote unquote real time thing was a gimmick, because anybody who lived in LA watching, and because I forget the name of the group that he worked for.
CTU.
The CTU. We're in LA. I can tell you that as they're like leaving one place and going to another place, and they can do it in 5 minutes, you're sitting there. If you lived in LA, you go, no. We're talking about like 2 hours to go from point A to point B. But on the show, they have the gimmick of, I can be there in 6 minutes. Because other stuff has to happen in this hour. So in that sense, a lot of the quote unquote real time on 24 was science fiction.
Well, heavy traffic.
24 was actually science fiction, because
not even Dan. The only way that they could cover that.
Go too deep into
the only way. No, let me just say. No, hang on. Let me just say that the only way that Jack Bauer could have covered some of the distances in there is if he would have had one of James Bond's rocket packs from Thunderball instead of a car. That's the only way they could have worked it.
Maybe he did. Like what somebody said in the chat, Funky, 15 minutes of each episode was missing for the commercials. So that is probably when he strapped on his jetpack.
Yeah,
so this all makes sense when you look at it.
Heavy traffic is the one problem that the crew of the USS Enterprise don't have in this episode of Star Trek. Everything goes wrong for them in a very tightly offered episode, I think. Rabbi, you have your opinions on the episodes this year have heavily ranged. Sometimes we've had serious disagreements here on the panel. Did you enjoy this one?
I loved this episode. I freaking loved. This is one of the best hours of TV I've seen in a long time. And it, for me, I like the heart of it is the Mbenga stuff, which is Yeah, I love that actor. He's brilliant in everything. Right?
He's a great actor. I just can't understand a word he says most of the time. I think physically,
just kind of tune into it. That's really what it is. But yeah, it's like one of those 3D pictures. You got to relax your eyes to see, which I can never get to work. Right? But you just got to ease it. You've got to tune into it. But so I love that. I love their casting of Boyce. Right? I think that was great. I like that actor. It was in Mad Men. Right? And I like the reinvention of Boyce as being a bit of a dick. Right? Which he totally wasn't in The Cage. But look, this is a different universe. I don't care if they say it's the same universe. They're wrong. They have no idea. This is obviously a different universe from, Chapman Trek, right?
All of these characters, because they were most of them were fairly thinly sketched back in the original series, because their running time amounts to a handful of scenes for most of them, if that, doesn't it? And probably even more so when it comes to Dr. Boyce. So this part here this time, and when they called him by his name, my ears pricked up. I thought, oh, him! I liked him, and they cast somebody who looks quite a lot like him. How I remember him looking, with the blue but slightly sunken eyes. He's got a reduced hairline, but then again, it would have been by this point. He's got a similar kind of shaped face, and I knew I recognised the actor as well. I hadn't seen the show that you just talked about, Rabbi, but I knew him from somewhere. Turns out
he's Star Trek. He's seen lots of stuff.
He's been in Star Trek 5 times before.
Oh, blimey! I had no idea. He's like a jobbing actor.
DS9. A TNG way back when he was very young. So this guy is just a Star Trek royalty by default, I think. But I love the fact this character's sort of back. Whether we'll see him again or not, I'm not entirely sure, because we haven't got much time for the characters, for the standard regular characters. But the thing that I enjoyed, I think, the most about this is because, as it said in the synopsis, and the presence of Dr. Boyce also sort of accelerated that. I had, for the first time, and Chris, you've talked about this. Gary, you've talked about this. I had, for the first time in a long time, that feeling of, I do not know whether this character that I sort of begrudgingly like is going to survive this episode or not, because the replacement's there. This character, we know we don't see him later. I felt like anything could happen, and I liked that. I appreciated that.
Yeah, even the stuff with Spock on the outside of the ship, and he wasn't killed because he's Spock and he's in the later Star Trek. Yeah, I still think that I try and watch this in the moment, right? I really try and watch each one individually and try and judge it on its own merits, right? Because I really want to be, because I like Star Trek and I want to be fair to it, frankly. So I'm not trying to carry the baggage of the last 2.5 seasons. This is the best one since the first season for me, right? I like the premise as well. I like the characters were all doing interesting things. Right, and it wasn't stupid. It was, which is the major problem of modern Trek, right? But again, the acting between M'Benga and what's her name, Chapel, fantastic. Like, just genuinely, and like you knew he had accepted he was going to die, right? And he conveyed that, right, in a very authentic way. And
if she hadn't have matched that, they would have never have convinced us that he was in mortal danger. I think Jess Bush, who I don't fancy at all, I think that she's probably the best actress amongst the entire cast, and this demonstrated.
I want to be clear here. I don't fancy her either, but if she wanted to have sex, I would. Okay, just to be clear. All right.
Well, you're in the Jewish chair, so she
I represent my people in this. Yeah. What can I tell you?
Yeah.
I'm not doing this for me.
I do have a question. I have a question about Chapel, though.
Yeah.
This is definitely not the Chapel from the original series. The Chapel from the original series was just a nurse. She does become an MD in the motion picture.
Correct.
This is like Super Nurse who does doctor things.
The 4K print on the motion picture is worth it just for McCoy's beard, right? You see that in high definition. It's beautiful.
Well, you got to watch the video where he beams aboard and they include the disco music. It works perfectly.
Oh, I haven't seen that. It's, anyway, again, this episode I think was genuinely fabulous. Didn't drag at all. I was so surprised by it. I mean, for me, this is a standalone piece of TV. right? I think it will. Yeah, if they were all this quality, this will be such a great show. This could be so. I mean, even Pele was interesting in this one, right?
The less we see of her, the more effective she is.
I like her.
You put her in.
I like her
quarters.
Her quarters might be my favorite set, and it does.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Nintendo.
We're all right. I mean, I do like that about her. It's like where did this one come from?
Also, she was far quieter.
The last 6 weeks.
It was the same character, still doing the silly accent, because it was quite contained, and she wasn't sort of running around like a tit, doing like the woman on Star Trek Academy does, like very exaggerated. Then it almost worked. I assume she was still barefoot, but when she was sort of messing around with that, the breach, that very small breach in her wall in her quarters, little things like, without actually saying anything, but she was just getting on with the things that she was getting on, and I think the addition of the Scotty character has also helped her. I think the expansion of the cast with little people here and there. The new Vulcan cadet character, we get to see her do a bit more in this. They haven't changed the character that much. They're gently developing her. So I think that's quite nice. And this got to show off all of the characters to the best of their abilities. And the captain gets sort of knocked out fairly early on, but he's back up on his feet in next to no time with a big sort of cut across his chest, sort of Captain Kirk style. And they're all thrown into absolute turmoil. There's some fantastic special effects. And you talk about Spock and the spacewalk. It reminded me of the motion picture in particular, but also because he gets radiation sickness, doesn't he? And even the makeup, the way his face was sort of crumbling, was very original series sort of makeup. So it was just very lovingly done. They could have easily gone to town on that and done something really quite gross, but they didn't. They sort of kept it quite old school, and so I found that sort of just nicely, considering some of the actual special effects sequences were so out there, that just the little makeup that actually looks like makeup, they're not afraid to do physical sort of effects anymore. I like that. This was a
I mean, they had like these little, like, completely inexpensive things they put in, like during the spacewalk, you kept hearing these dings as the particle hits their so they go ding, ding, they hit the suit right randomly. That cost bloody nothing, and it was brilliant.
Little things like that, they all mount up, don't they? They convey that the situation is as dire as they're telling us it is, Gary. Because if the whole thing doesn't sort of line up with that, then we won't be convinced, we won't be seduced, we won't be compelled to watch for that 45 minutes. I've had episodes of this show that have lasted 40 minutes that have felt like 2 hours. This wasn't one of them. And even though I did sort of roll my eyes, I mean, it's one thing to do this in real time. Other shows have adopted the real time thing in homage to 24, including the British show that did that years ago. And we do see it pop up now and again, but I didn't expect them to do the countdown graphics with sliding in and out of various different faces, 3 or 4 images on screen. I could have lived without that, but apart from that, I thought they handled the format of it brilliantly. What did you think, Gary?
Okay, well, here's the thing. As far as the 24, I'll get this out of the way now. I didn't see the 24 thing as a gimmick, because in 24 it kind of was a gimmick to create this illusion of real time, which, like I said, was a farce if you knew where that series was actually taking place. But here, it actually served to amp up the tension because it was a countdown. In a general sense, now you guys know that even in the last few kind of questionable episodes, I've always tried to be fair with, acknowledge what I thought didn't work, but then acknowledge what I thought I liked. And I really tried to kind of balance it out. This week, I had no trouble doing this because I think this was far and away the best episode this season. I think that, for the litany that everybody has been saying about, this doesn't feel like Trek, The great thing I think about this episode was because we got back to Trek, the kind of Star Trek where it's smart people working to solve a crisis with guts and ingenuity and no small amount of risk and lots of hope. And I thought that's quintessential Star Trek. where they have this cool, calm, collected attitude that you just need to focus to get the job done. I think that the tension in this episode was great. I think there was great character work. At the end, you might, be kind of churlish and say, well, yeah, but the science was kind of almost bordering on magic. Well, this isn't the first time the Trek's done that, but you know what? I don't care when tension.
At least they try for a scientific explanation.
When tension and great character work, overrides wonky science. I don't give a crap about wonky science in Star Trek. It's the characters that I stay for. And in that regard, this was a stellar episode. I think that, direction, it was really, high stakes, and it was really kind of dark. Now Trek has done riffs on Poseidon Adventure before, which in a lot of ways this was. We had Disaster in TNG, where a little particle disrupts the ship and they're all stuck in different parts around the ship. We had in Deep Space Nine, we had Civil Defense, where an old Cardassian program traps everybody in different spots. So they've done riffs on this before, but I actually think that this was, as opposed to those two, especially the Trek one, which was a bad situation, but it was still the kind of clinical sanitary danger that TNG did, where nobody really got, there wasn't really a lot of, of danger and death and blood and all the other places. Here, we have multiple characters horrifically, badly injured. Everybody is in a massively life-threatening situation. They have to make these, instantaneous choices. You have Una, who has to be the one to crawl over the, to turn on the artificial gravity. And I flinched when that happened to her foot, when that bone came cracking out.
I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, and like I said, they don't, but see, this is to the benefit of the story, because if we don't see them in potentially fatal danger, we don't buy, we don't get invested in what we're seeing. And the minute they showed that first X-ray of Mabenga, you just stop and you just go, holy crap. And you know what, Dan, I'll be honest.
Gary, before then, Gary, all we could see was the slightest bit of red around his midsection against the table. So it was in my head. I wonder, could he be? Will he?
Yes.
And then they dripped it through just brilliantly.
Exactly, because when it wasn't so much the blood, but it was that X-ray. And I honestly, I'm totally honest when I say it. I actually sat back and started wondering, wait a minute, is this show just going to chuck cannon and actually kill Mabenga? I honestly thought that, because that's to the credit of the writer and the director, who could amp up the tension so much that even for a moment I was not sure what was going to happen to all of these so-called safe character. The writer and the director did not soft pedal the danger and the threat in this episode. And I think that's great. Now for Chapel, I actually think obviously this is her episode. I thought that the fight was superb. The fight at the beginning set everything up, and you totally believe that these two characters who have been through, and we've seen flashes to the Klingon War, how they served together and the trauma that they both went through, and the bond that was created. Even you're going to have this a-hole doctor come and say, oh, leave him, he's dead, I want you to report to me. Considering everything how they're bonded, to how their experiences bonded them together, it doesn't surprise me that Chapel would basically tell him to F off and stay to be with him. And that was great. And the fact that and the history that these characters have, and so as she gets increasingly more desperate as the hour goes by to try to come up with some way to save them. You buy that because we're invested in their relationship. And as you've all said, I mean, this was a great episode for the both of them. I want to take a second to talk about Scotty. Now, this was a great Scotty Pelia episode, and I think this is basically a key episode for Scotty, because I think we just saw the genesis of not only Scotty's being the miracle worker, because now we know where he got that from. He got it from Pelia, and her talking him through about, you know, every ship glitches, but if you just listen to what the ship is going to tell you, the ships can perform miracles. And at the beginning, Scotty's like, oh, this bucket of bolts, I knew that it wouldn't work. And by the end, when he's touching the ship, it's like, I think we just saw the origin of Scotty being in love with the Enterprise. I think that's what we saw in this episode.
Up to this point, he kind of resented being there, and he felt that the ship was working against him. Whereas here they establish a sort of a communication, if you want to be, because a lot of people, even now, nowadays, and obviously in seafaring, it was the same. People would talk about ships being, they would give them genders, they would give them names, they would talk about them being cursed, all that kind of thing. And I love all that stuff. It's very, very hokey, but it's an essential part of sort of storytelling. And
I think ships are always
they've always done it well in Star Trek. Yeah,
ships always female.
Largely,
and you know, we also had the callback to the if you remember the original series episode, Court Martial, where Kirk is the same thing, where somebody has to go into the pod and Kirk has to jettison the pod. You know, that was kind of a good callback to this. And I just think that this is, from top to bottom, this episode was just filled with outstanding character moments, pivotal to me character development. And I just think that, like I said, except for one thing. Now, the hot new Vulcan, who, and especially with the haircut this week, it's like, oh my Lord, with that haircut that she had this week. But the minute that she was standing there and said, you know, and she tells Scotty, well, that's Uhura's job, I don't do that. Scotty should have walked up to her and go, are you effing kidding me? Do what I just told you to do. Because it's like, I'm not sure if any ensign would do that kind of almost like semi-intonation. But I mean, I just wanted to, I'm not going to say I wanted to, I would never say I wanted him to smack her, but she needed to get in her face and go, are you kidding? Do what I just ordered you to do. But an outstanding episode all around. I was genuinely fearful for the fates of everybody, on this show. And everybody, because I think this is Pelia's best. This is Pelia's best episode, because Carol Kane may have been brought in there for the comedy and the lightness and the humor, but she can serve up good kind of dramatic moments when she's required to.
Well,
and so this was just an outstanding episode.
Well, she came, one of her earlier works was When a Stranger Calls in the late
That's
70s,
right.
I believe it was.
He's in the house. He's in the house.
Yeah, she could do serious. But one thing that I want to call out too is I think superb writing, acting, and directing. The opening scene, or one of the opening scenes between Chapel and Omega, when they're having a discussion and it becomes tense, and something like that easily could come off as forced, but when you look at, because these two have a history beyond the Enterprise, and we know that it's a very traumatic history based on some of the things that we've seen. But I think probably one of the best or most shocking scenes, I think maybe throughout all of Star Trek, is right after the ship has its accident, and so they go, and you don't exactly know what's happened at first. You look at the table, she's getting up, and then they pull up, and it's done very slowly and subtly, but you see that Mbenga has basically been cut in half. And as soon as you see,
I didn't get that until I saw the X-ray.
No. If you look,
across.
you can see it because, and it's subtle. I think you had to look for it, but you could see basically the way they did it. You can tell that the table is going right through him, and like it's like there's no way he should be alive, and like that was brilliantly done. And I also came up with a theory, as to how they actually could have worked his character's death into canon, because I was thinking about it. We don't actually know that, because they only in the original series they only used the last name Mbenga. How do we know that character isn't the same one? It could be his son. We know he had a daughter.
I didn't even know he was mentioned in the original series until you.
Oh no, he shows up. He shows up in
how
2
many
episodes.
Yeah, I think it's like a 3rd season.
That Which Survives.
That's
and
3rd season.
A Private Little War. So
That's
no,
2nd season.
The character called Mbenga, which we are led to believe is the same one, is on the original series. And then as soon as they did this, I was thinking, okay, if they kill him, that's that. Even though I think he's the best character, that's completely unexpected and out of nowhere. And then I got to thinking, well, they could make the character that shows up on the ship a few years later. It's not the same character. It's his son. Another point that I wanted to bring up. Remember, we didn't do these episodes weekly a year ago. We just did a couple streams, but one of them I insisted on doing, which was about how uneven this show is and how it's almost run by 2 completely different production teams. One that gets Star Trek that we don't see very often, but this is like one of those episodes by somebody that actually gets Star Trek, actually understands character development. And then we have what we've seen the rest of the season, which is like a completely separate production team filled with fucking idiots that don't know their ass from their head. But the character development, it wasn't just there's multiple instances of character development, which is well done. You have Chapel finally decides she wants to stay on the Enterprise. Obviously, we know she doesn't leave. We have this is the episode where Scotty becomes Scotty. There's also the arc that's been going through the season of Ortegas and Scotty hating each other, and now there's by this point they've gotten to the point where they're almost friends, even though a lot of their development was in terrible episodes. I actually do like the arc. I think Carol Kane. I was actually surprised. Look, I know she can act, but it seems like she's playing her character from Scrooged. And that's what we've done.
Yes, that's exactly what she's doing.
But she's not a bad actress because she has done serious.
Yeah,
she does serious well, and I think because she is so eccentric, just naturally, when she does do serious, I think it even has more of an impact. And in this episode, you have her giving Scotty his pep talk, and you're like, okay, this is like a completely different character. Again, this is like it was written by the other production team. There is no resemblance to what we saw this week to that shit show we looked at a week ago, or like the 2 episodes prior to that. So
also great use of the mind meld in this episode.
Yeah. And a shout out to our friend Lon, who some of us fancy somewhat, Christina Chong. Actually, that's a great scene, the way she portrays that without saying anything. He does the mind meld, and rather than him saying it, it's her. But just as soon as they cut away that look she gives, you're like, oh, damn. Okay.
In modern television, and that's something I found about this entire episode, in modern, and although they did ring out the tension, and there were conventions that were played to here, it wasn't cheap in any way. And so there was lots of scenes where, in modern TV, we're used to things being over-emotional, being overwritten and overacted. And yet in this episode, with the tension right the way up, that was one of numerous scenes by several of the main cast where they played it right the way down. And so it made it so seductive, so impressive, so intense.
And also Farsight, unusually gruesome for Star Trek. Surely, actually, had this been Discovery or the first 2 seasons of Picard, there is one scene where they would have shown in full detail when they removed the table exactly what had happened to Mbenga. And even I was like,
Yeah.
I don't really want to see this. They actually they don't show it. You see the table, you see it in X-rays, because honestly, I don't that does not, like, that works fine for a horror movie, and I'm largely desensitized to this, but that doesn't belong in Star Trek. So basically, what they do, and actually the scene where they take the table off, because they have to kill him by freezing him.
Mhm.
But the way they filmed it again, when Chapel pushes the table out of the way and loses her finger in the process, which I thought was a little gross, but a nice little touch. They don't actually show it. When they pan over, Chapel,
we stay with Chapel rather than
so you don't
Rebecca,
actually
don't we?
see the damage. And if it was a horror movie, I would have criticized it. But no,
it's almost, Chris, it's almost like out of focus in kind of long shot. You see Mabenga like in far, but it almost to me was like out of focus because they didn't want you to.
Yeah, and you know what? I am perfectly fine with that, because they had scenes in Picard, especially, that have no place in Star Trek. And
right, because that just completely gratuitous.
That's not what Star Trek's about. It's never what it's been about. They have had gruesome things happen, but they haven't showed them. The bone break, I'm okay with it because I think it was well done. And it's like there are actual shocking moments in this, which is very rare for any modern TV show, but multiple where you're like, holy crap. And one of them,
well, they don't linger on it. They don't linger on it either. They move from the injury to her face in a split second. So you think, did I just see what I think I've seen? Which is probably where you could do that. I wouldn't describe Strange New Worlds as a family show, but obviously it is more classically minded Star Trek, which you could, for most of these, you could watch with your children, your older children. I think there's some sexual content in it now and again, which I think would be
I think Star Trek is for like, I think it's like 12-year-olds and that.
Yeah, I agree.
That's about the right.
I would agree.
I hope we get to see some behind the scenes footage, because I really am convinced that what's the name of the actor, Babs, whatever his name is, who plays Mabenga, very much coached. Was it Jeb Bush in this, and probably throughout the whole time they've been working there, they got a very good relationship. But like Babs, whatever his name is just like a very, very old seasoned actor. He knows what he's doing, and
he's younger than all of us. He's in his early 40s. But this is another thing that
it says something that I genuinely, I'm not just saying this, I can't understand at least 75% of what he says, and yet I'm still kind of fascinated by him. I think because he's such an interesting looking actor. The eyes, his sort of pointed jawline, and physically as well. And also because the character is really interesting, because he's sort of mysterious sort of figure. We don't know what the limits of his abilities, nor the various places he served, in which capacity. And again, they underwrite that, which everything on all the other shows has always been desperately overwritten and ridiculous. It's been ridiculous, been just silly, hard to take seriously. But here you can, because they're not sort of boasting about it. There's no showboating. There's none of that sort of the best. This is the best crew ever. We're watching a bunch of people who, for the most part, in many corners of it, haven't necessarily gotten along and haven't either haven't wanted to be there at all, or they haven't been sure why they were there. And now we sort of see what is the people who are connected and who will remain connected, where and how they've bonded and on what level. And I think that is for all that we say, we tie out of prequels and we question the wisdom of returning to that well over and over again with one franchise, which has been done with Star Trek. Here, I think we see something which is a virtue of prequel stories, which does work with prequels that you can't do as effectively with other models. And it's about time they found that. It's about time they found that groove. Just to summarize, I agree with all of you. I thought this was absolutely outstanding, quintessential Star Trek, pretty much from start to finish. It gave us the only thing it didn't have was a fist fight. Other than that, everything you would expect from great Star Trek was in here, brilliantly done, superbly acted, and with some great special effects as well. It could be a contender for the best episode of Strange New Worlds, and possibly the outside of Picard season 3, certainly the best episode of what we call begrudgingly New Trek. This was really, really good.
Or top 3. But I think another thing, which when we look at New Trek, there's so many things that separates Strange New Worlds, the good episodes, from the rest of them. A big difference is on Discovery. the first 2 seasons of Picard, and Starfleet Academy, the actors are terrible. Like no, honestly, like terribly cast. But most of them, even Holly Hunter, who's an accomplished actress, can't act to save her life in those shows.
She's miscast.
Like the acting is appalling. The characters are unlikable. One thing that, and maybe it was just dumb luck, because we know that this was actually cast in the times of DEI, but somehow they lucked out with the people that they ended up casting. The difference with Strange New Worlds, which makes, I think, is one of the main differences that makes the good episodes, is the fact that every actor on this show knows how to act. At one time or another, they've all given outstanding performances, which is nothing that we got out of Tilly or Michael Burnham, or
well, that weird
those
lad in
things on
You didn't like the theater therapy, Chris?
No.
Why?
Or like
Why remind me of that? Why?
But no, like this, what Star Trek is, and what New Trek is often missed. They don't know why Star Trek worked, and it's not just the science fiction element, the effects. It's the stories and the acting. The original series was well cast. The Next Generation was well cast. Deep Space Nine might have one of the strongest casts of all time.
Yeah.
I don't like Voyager, and for the most part, Neelix aside, it was okay cast, but it was not at the same level. Even Enterprise was very well cast. I think Scott Bakula's character has one of the best arcs in the history of Star Trek, maybe the best arc, when you see what he goes through. But this is the one time that we've had actual talented people involved in Star Trek. And again, it's a shame that this show has so few good episodes. Again, those 15 episodes elevate this show to a different level. And if you watch those 15 or so and ignore everything else, you have a great show. In terms of favorite episodes, there are some strong episodes. I still think my favorite might be the season finale, to season 2. That's when Batel wrecks her ship, and chaos ensues. That might be my favorite episode, possibly. But this is a strong contender. This is the type of writing that we would have seen on Deep Space Nine. But again, there is the gimmick. They didn't really need the gimmick. And that's the theme of the year. They're obviously doing 24. The one thing that I think they should have done without, well, you can make it, obvious. We've had episodes that have taken place in real time before, I think, in pretty much every series. The clock didn't need to be there. You didn't need to continue with the theme of, what franchise are we ripping off? Obviously, this is 24. You didn't need the clock there. I think this episode stands on its own without the gimmick. I would have removed that, because that is a problem with the season where everything is ripping off something else. It's 24, but it's a good episode. So here's the other thing I'm saying, Skydance, when you're releasing your 15 episodes, this is close to a perfect episode, but when you're releasing this one, remove the clock, because that, in what it's implying, because anybody who's above a certain age knows, okay, this is 24. Again, that did not need to be there. Take that away. That's the only problem I really have with this episode. And also, it's 57 minutes long, and it goes by very quickly. Usually it's like, I want to jump in front of a car by the end of one of these episodes, and I'm watching the clock, and I get depressed seeing how much time is left. This one, I didn't even notice the clock, and I'm like, wow, that was a short episode. And then I look, and I'm like, 57 minutes, or I'm like, Jesus Christ, like it's well paced, and it sucks, because why didn't we get more of this?
I should all
why
be
isn't
like
this what you were giving us for 5 or 4 years now? You could do it. We know that you could do it. I'm not saying
they should all be sort of pressure cooker style stories and all be really tense and very serious, but they should all, I'm fine with Star Trek being silly, not stupid. I'm fine with episodes that are high adventure. I'm fine with episodes that are totally character led. It's all fine. I think that 90s Trek, late 80s and 90s Trek did that all brilliantly and expanded what Star Trek could and should be. But all I'm saying is, to do all of those things to a far, far higher quality than they have managed to, largely speaking, in the last decade across various shows. This proves that it can be done very deftly, and this should be the norm rather than the exception. I'm trying to hope that things will pick up from now on, Gary. That's where I'm choosing to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, like Rabbi said, you gotta go into each one of these like as it's just individual thing and kind of hope for the best. I said before, I think this episode absolutely belongs to Josh Bush, who plays Chapel. To a lesser degree, Scotty, he was good in this episode, but she did such a great job of being. You could see that she's absolutely terrified and desperate, but yet she's pushing. That doesn't paralyze her. She's trying to push through and push through the desperation and push through the panic that she has and come up with a solution. I love the scene where she's about to get him to she's hooked up the bio bed. She's about to get him to the bio bed and start that. And something happens with the power. And she runs over and sees like things are frozen. And then she's like, no. And then runs out. And then she comes back, I guess, with like an axe or something and starts like beating open one of these panels. And you go like, what is she doing? And then the next scene you see after that is she's dragged out all the cables across sickbay to hook up to the biobed. And you went, wow, again, smart people, pushing through the terror of the moment to come up with a solution to the problem. And she played that kind of mix of being terrified, but yet she's still desperately trying to come up with to save Mabenga. She just played that perfectly.
So with that in mind, Gary, what score would you give this out of 5?
5, absolutely 5.
Yeah.
I mean, the little things, like I said, the little kind of magic-y science solution at the end didn't take away, because for the character work and for the tension, the direction, absolutely 5.
I keep thinking about this. I've been turning it over in my head, and it's like, I can't possibly give this a 5, can I? I thought, well, why would you mark it down? It had absolutely everything. I thought, well, should I mark it down from 5 because of those 24 stylings, which were unnecessary, but they don't ruin the episode, so I don't think I can. I think I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5 as well, come to think of it. What about you, Chris?
And yes, it is funny to say this, considering just a week ago I was screaming on YouTube at how angry I was at this show, and I've only just gotten my voice back after making that video. My highest originally this season was 4.8 for the Griffin incident, although I've marked that down to 3 because actually I watched Event Horizon after watching that episode, and I noticed what a ripoff it was. So I'm going to give this a 4.9 because it is close to being a perfect episode, except for the clock. I think that's a mistake. I think it didn't need to be there because they are obviously hell bent on every episode this season being a homage to something, and I think this lumps it in with, to a certain extent, with the rest of the absolute trash we've seen this year. I think I would love to see an edit without the clock, where this is just a straight episode. Yeah. So I'm only taking off like a 0.1, but this is a 4.9. This is one of those rare episodes, and this might be tied as my favorite episode of Strange New Worlds. It is nice to know that we can still get decent Star Trek despite what we've seen. But I am saddened that I've seen what they can do with this show. I've seen what they can do with these characters and these actors, where they can, it happens rarely, but they can go toe-to-toe with Deep Space Nine, which is, in my opinion anyway, by far the best of the Star Trek series on every level. They actually, in rare occasions, they have elevated this show to that level. And it's disappointing because there's only 46 episodes of this show, and so many of them, more than half of them, have been complete shit. And with 10 episodes, with 10 episodes a year, there's no reason why you can't have at least 8 or 9 strong episodes. Yes, you can have the occasional dud.
You can have at least 7 good episodes. At least.
And if you want to do your joke episode, okay, you can do it once a season. Although this year we've had 3. The dinosaur one is so ludicrous, so I'll call that one a 4. Everybody knows my thoughts on that one. But yes, so Skydance, you back on DVD, you used to do the best of sets for the Next Generation and other shows where you get your favorite episodes. Please, for the love of God, do a best of 15 episode of Strange New Worlds. That way you can watch the show at its best without being distracted by all the shit. Because say if this season, if we just had, I'll give it the Griffin incident in this, if those were the only 2 episodes we'd seen this year, even though the Griffin incident is obviously a ripoff, we would be talking about this show in an entirely new way. Now there are still a few episodes left. So this one was called Off Hour. Now this was also directed by Dan Liu, who directs 1 episode a season. The episode was written by Bill Wolkoff, who actually co-writes next week's episode, which is called like Chronotons Through the Hourglass. Now, unfortunately, I believe this is the soap opera episode, so I think we're going to be going back into dog shit. Orders of Magnitude.
That doesn't put me off necessarily.
It depends on how they do it, but we've seen how they've handled the other theme of the week.
Chris, you're talking to a man who just watched 14 seasons of Dallas.
I honestly don't mind soap operas. Like not the ones that are during the day, but the soap opera-esque continuing storylines. I've admitted I like Party of 5 and Dawson's Creek. So sue me. I have them on DVD, and
I consider soaps to be very cheap and cheerful telly that's mostly on during the day. I think serial dramas and soap are different things. So it depends on who's called it, who's tagged it soap. If the people who have written it and are putting it together are saying this is consciously us trying to be soapy, then we'll let that be on their own heads. But if this is the fandom, if this is some more goofy culture war bullshit of people just saying, oh, this is going to be like that, and it's just like, oh, James Gunn's about to be fired. He wasn't fucking fired.
I don't think it's. Well, I think that this is beyond the culture war, because we're in a different era now where wokeness for the most part. Yeah, well, yeah, some people will.
Some people refuse to leave it behind on both the left and the right.
It's still there to a certain extent, but it's not the majority. The issues that we're dealing with right now are not wokeness. Some people call it slop. I'm not going to call it that. I'm going to call it mediocrity. Everything is just kind of lukewarm and not very.
We're still languishing in a period where quality itself is hard to find. Yeah. Finally, I want to come to the Rabbi and ask you, Rabbi, where would you score this out of 5? You've heard
this totally gets a 5 for me. Totally gets a 5 for me. I think it works better as a piece of TV than it does as a piece of Star Trek, but only just. I thought this was superb. I would happily watch this again. This might have convinced me to do a full rewatch of all the seasons again, because I don't know. I was completely turned off from everything from season 2 onwards. As soon as they got rid of that engineer, I really disliked season 2 and 3. But I'll look again, see if there's anything worth watching in them.
I can't remember the last time we all scored anything this high, maybe even ever.
Especially with me,
that we talked about.
Yeah,
especially with Chris on deck. This really is a moment here for any kind of Star Trek, but particularly for Strange
Although I did
New
give
Worlds,
it although Dan, to be honest, I did give it the lowest rating. So but yeah.
Well, it would all still average out to a 5.
Yeah,
it continues next week.
I'm very impressed.
It continues next week, of course. It's a 10-week run, all in all. Continues all the way through to September the 24th. Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 4, streaming on Paramount Plus in the United States, Latin America, the UK, and Australia. You can get it on CTV Sci-Fi Channel in Canada, TVNZ or Z in New Zealand, and on Sky Showtime. I really should find out what that is, which is in select European markets, everybody. How fabulous to talk about something that we all enjoyed and that was worth our enthusiasm and roundly pleasing. What a all too rare experience. It has left me feeling somewhat spent. So I think it's time to take in an advert of sorts from out there in the pantheon of Trek greats. We'll be back in a moment.
Now, for the first time anywhere, comes the all-new authentic Star Trek communicator pin. It's the same pin you see worn by the stars of the upcoming major motion picture, Star Trek Generations. Warp speed! Through this special TV offer, you can get your Generations communicator pin now.
Engage.
This gleaming nickel and brass-plated pin is held firmly in place by a powerful magnetic force, so it won't damage your clothes.
I'm sensing something, Captain.
Number 1 to the bridge.
Captain, the Borg have entered the ship. We're on alert.
The Generations communicator is the latest Starfleet design and is only available through this special television offer.
I keep trying to ring it, and it's not in service anymore. So.
You know what?
I had that.
You know what that commercial really needed? It needed like somebody trying to do a Riker maneuver on a chair and getting it wrong.
Maybe there's another one out there. We're back with more Warp Drive. This is where we hit the view screen, of course, to take your comments. We've been getting deep into Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 4, which mostly has been somewhat of a trial. But as we come to rest this time in week 6, it's only taken till week 6, we're all very largely pleased with what has been put before us. So time to get down, slam ourselves down in the ready room here. We can't drink all night, can we? And to turn on the view screen and see what you guys have got to say when we open the hailing frequencies. Thank you for the comments so far, all of your opinions about this episode. I think now we're at a point where the people who watch and listen along are at least watching this show, which does help. So we've got there in the end, even if it isn't the halfway point in the season. Let's see what's going on here. So at the top of the show, we talked a little bit about being where we are right now and whether we're dreading each new episode, and some of us are, some of us aren't. Stephen Braddock has been watching on YouTube. Hi, Stephen. And he says, after last week, I was dreading this week, seeing what else they would rip off. And of course, we've all talked a little about 24 and things like that. I think homage and rip off are two different things. I think we can be selective in how we deploy them based on the quality of what we're expected to watch. Gary, I don't mind homage. I don't necessarily mind rip off.
It's more of a. I would say this. If you want to call it something, you would call it a borrow. Maybe. If they really wanted to homage 24, they would have. If they really wanted to homage 24, they would have had one of the characters go, "Damn it," which is what.
Damn it, Chloe.
Jack Bauer always. He's like, "Damn it,
damn it, Chloe."
They need the flip phone. Although, just to clarify, I would say, this episode was, I would say, homage because it has the countdown clock, but it's not a ripoff. The Griffin incident is a ripoff. So it's there are different levels, but this is a homage. But I'm standing firm; it did not need the clock. I'm surprised they didn't actually have the bass drum drop every time the second goes down.
Funky says the warp threshold sounds like those dangerous hours after a Vindaloo.
Was anybody wondering whether the characters would turn into a salamander like they did on the Voyager episode with the warp threshold?
I can't say that I was. I did wonder if anybody was going to fuck, because this is Star Trek Strange New Worlds and Spock hasn't shagged anybody for a couple of weeks.
Spock.
No, that would be
green blood.
Oh no, he got his leg over last week with a puppet, didn't he? So technically, he sort of
that would be a
I think he gave himself. I think he gave himself. That would be
Academy.
A handy while I was in the little shuttle pod thing, right? When it was, to keep his body temperature up or something like that.
He's insatiable. This version of Spock.
He is. He gets it about.
Numerous people are demonstrating the Vulcan salute in the live chat, including Nicholas Horton and the fabulous Lord Thoth. Too. Thank you, gentlemen. Keep at it. Keep at it. My ears are still ringing from Bowlestrek's video, says Victor Fontaine. His flashback again to.
I'm not sorry.
I love Victor Fontaine. I love the episode with not in the with the PTSD.
That was an amazing episode. Yeah.
Nicholas Horton has shared this stream on X. Thank you, because nobody ever shares our stuff. Whatever. People watch and watch and watch, listen and listen and listen. Nobody ever shares it. So thank you, Nicholas. That is appreciated. A lot more shares would really help everybody out there. You know who you are. We get so many lurkers on everything that I produce, so many lurkers who never share the show. Pull your finger out. Come on, what else do we need to do? The people are here every week who still don't share it. Funky says it's why I'm not keen on prequels. If you know a character is in the original series, they are invincible in these situations. It can pull a show down. It can. But it needn't necessarily do that. Obviously, Enterprise got around that by having no characters that had appeared in earlier series at all in it. And that worked really, really well. So I think that would be
I am really looking forward to Thomas Jane doing McCoy. I think that's going to be really interesting.
And as I said, I honestly at one point was not sure that M'Benga was going to survive this episode. I really wasn't.
Like I said, the other character.
Yeah, I don't know the canon at all.
No, I've seen all of TOS, but I couldn't remember the character whatsoever. So Atty Tree says, there's a good writing going on where a character won't die. Oh, so Atty knows that too. Is put in a setup where you think otherwise. Yeah, I'd agree with that too. And Braddock says it's easily the best episode this season. Very tense, action-packed story. I was very surprised. And he goes on to say that what happened to Una, number one, Una Chin Riley, which it sounds like a pirate, but she's actually a Starfleet officer. What happened to Una actually happened to me when I was a kid. I got hit by a tractor, and the bone came through my elbow.
I had something similar to that. I had my knee relocated to the other side of my leg in grade 10 gym class, and my kneecap almost was starting to break through the skin.
Oh my
Lord. Yes, it was not where it is supposed to be.
I have never had an injury, and I'm having 2 surgeries in the next 6 months, so 6 to 8 months. So that's gonna be wild.
I could just say it sucked, and it was as awful as you think. And especially when the ambulance people put it back. And they didn't put it back properly. So to this day, I still have a slight limp. This is like 30 plus years later, which I have learned to hide, which is why when you now have a dislocated knee, they don't put it back until you get to the hospital. So things like this don't happen. But yes, that did bring back terrible memories for me. That was a very bad day.
Got some memories, some nicer memories that could be brought back by our next question. Nicholas Horton asks you, Chris, did you try and place a bid during that Star Trek auction in all caps? So there's been several Star Trek auctions this year, but I understand there's been one official one of maybe screen use props and costumes. Is that what it means?
From Starfleet Academy. I know Gary bought, I think Gary Neurotic, he bought a chair.
Well, I tried to bid on Holly Hunter's chair, but I couldn't go over 10 pounds. So
I think Red Letter Media bought a bunch of stuff they got in their videos. But no, Nicholas, I did not, because I'm broke. So I just live vicariously through the people that bought it. But I'm very, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was the chair Gary bought just to troll them. Which is
would hilarious. Let me ask you, Chris, if you had the chance, would you have bid on Jaden's dress?
Do I get to burn it?
You can do whatever you want with it.
I'm pretty sure Red Letter Media bought that.
I'm amazed how you guys can remember the name of those characters. I'm amazed that you guys can remember the names of those characters.
I don't call them that. No, he's not Jaden. He's Brittany, the Shame of Kronos.
The shame of Kronos. Yes, Thomas Jane is going to play McCoy in the next season. I think he's only in a couple of episodes, Funky. And they have cast somebody as Sulu as well. And I think there's a couple more surprises which they're holding back. So we're going to stay tuned for the 6 episodes that are coming next year. They were filmed ages ago, the best part of a year ago, and have been in post-production ever since. And Nicholas also asks, did any of you read that Star Trek Planet of the Apes comic series from 2014? Yes. Going back like 12 years here, Nicholas. I read that. I read that too.
I did.
There's lots of Star Trek comics, lots and lots of them. Makes me queasy thinking about that. That's your fault, Stephen. So says Farsight. So Picky keep sharing in the live chat by all means. Yeah, those sorts of stories may make you wince, but if it helps talking about it after all this time,
you're welcome. Hey, I was the one that had to experience it.
Well, after this season's over, we'll have a special traumatic injury reminiscence episode of Spacebook.
we can. I mean, obviously, there's been a bit of trauma this week. The passing of Dolly Parton obviously has been on a lot of people's minds and across the view screens as well. Lots of memes. I mean, for example, where is it? So who, for example, who is this, Gary? Go on. Who's this?
Dolly of
769.
Dolly of 9.
7 of 9 to 5.
7 of 9 to 5. Oh, very good. Very good. She looked good. They should have. Jerry Ryan wasn't available. They should have cast Dolly Parton.
Well, she's got it up front, hasn't she? She had she was fully weaponized. She had a great secondary hull. Because I think that, to use the Star Trek terminology.
So I've always wanted to see them do a sequel Enterprise series where they get the secondary hull. I always felt Jip, we never got that season.
Maybe they'll do an entire season or a mini series about that, or a podcast series or something along those lines.
No, you know what they should do? If they're going to do a sequel series to Enterprise, they should do that, but mixed with the Romulan War.
I think that they're quite keen to revisit it. Whether it'll happen or not, I have no idea. Obviously, other Star Trek shows are available. You can still get Starfleet Academy out there. I'm trying to forget about it and all the characters. We are almost certainly locked in to continue watching that, believe it or not. But when we see Strange New Worlds and that they've introduced that Vulcan character so effectively, we remember her. We're getting to know her bit by bit, for better and for worse, because she's quite unlikable in some ways, but very likable in others, capable in some ways, and yet in others she's very lacking. A very rounded character, in the same way that the characters in Picard season 3, where we saw them fail quite often, and I think we do get a nice balance of that. Generally speaking, when it comes to Strange New Worlds, including in this new character. So we have, as you know, I do like a brown girl. We've got another hot brown girl joined the cast this time. So this is Abhinara Sivakumaran, and she made her debut in this episode playing Lieutenant Rada. Everybody, Lieutenant Rada.
I think she's a legacy character. I think she was She is a legacy character. I was very pleased with myself. There she is. She's got she's a very, very attractive young woman. But in the original series, she was in the original series where she was played by Naomi Pollack. And there's Naomi. Not quite so hot.
No.
She's considerably.
Well, that's a few years later. In all fairness.
She's wearing the bindi. She's got the right coloured uniform on. Very, very different sort of character. But
again, wait. What bridge is that she's on?
The which version?
That's like a convention photo or something.
Yeah,
that's years and years later.
No, you better be careful, Dan, because Verada's going to want to have words with you, Dan, if you switch to this one.
Yeah, I've got to be careful, haven't I? So yeah, there we've got Naomi Pollack playing the character.
If she's in her 50s in that picture, which I think she is smoking hot.
Well, this is the episode That Which Survives from season 3 of the original series. So the character of Lieutenant Rada serves as a navigator and helmswoman on the USS Enterprise when Sulu, that's his usual gig, isn't it, when he goes down to the planet for an encounter with Lee Merriweather, which I think he got the best end of the deal, considering she was also very, very hot. But yes, more, please. We'd like some more of Lieutenant Rada. I'm down for this completely. Very, very hot. Obviously, this show does have a problem in that there is an overabundance of female characters. They can't all be built at the same sort of rate. But again, if they're hot,
keep her. That's fine. Okay, I have no problem. Keep her.
This is the one you keep, with the jumper bunnies and the long dark hair. Yeah, fabulous. So I'm all about this.
Okay,
very, very happy.
Do you want to know something really bizarre since I got divorced? Right, the strangest thing ever. Right, I was never attracted to black women before, right? It's the weirdest thing, right? Any other color, I was fine. And I was like deeply ashamed of it. I felt so racist. I'm like, well, what's wrong with you? Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I grew up with Grace Jones. I don't know.
A View to a Kill put you off for life, was it?
Right.
Yeah. But, oh, God. That scene in View to a Kill where she goes into the shag Roger Moore, I'm like, Roger, you ain't going to survive this, mate. Okay? But, like, yeah, since I got divorced, I'm like, yeah, okay. And I think maybe, what's her name? Uhura helped me get over this strange and bizarre 50-year-old phobia. Praise the good Lord, it's gone.
and Dan, that was, you have this scene up. That was also great. Again, this episode was filled with smart people doing their job, because the minute that he hands over the pad and transfer, he goes, okay, beta shift is now on. It takes her about 3 seconds to notice something's wrong, which becomes the main problem of the episode. And she looks at the pad and sees the discrepancy right away. So it's like, wow, smart people all over the place on this episode.
Yes, we like her. She's certainly a lot more fanciable than the original. So go back and watch That Which Survives, and you can see
I'm
her
a Benga
in all her
episode, by the way.
Another, yes, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. The cast of Strange New Worlds turning up all over the place. I very much like Lee Merriweather's outfit in that as well. That's very nice.
You can see why I'm so scared.
Well, she was Catwoman, so there you go.
My favourite of all the Catwomen. I know that is also an unpopular opinion, but she is my favourite, even though Julie Christie and Eartha Kitt were both very beautiful women. But for me, it was Lee Merriweather in the movie.
Not even close. Not even close. Yeah, definitely the best one.
Yes, so Strange New Worlds rolls on. We're looking out for everything, absolutely everything. So even if some of it is material for the wank bank, I suppose you could say. We've got some more comments.
I think it's a more polite term.
Spank bank. Lee Merriweather, what a cat woman, says Stephen Braddock. Whether you like banoffee pie or chocolate cake, nothing racist there. Just enjoy what you enjoy. Gorgeous.
Well, I enjoy it all now, so I'm really quite chuffed about that.
I remember when I was a kid, the most beautiful woman I ever saw on TV was an actress called Diane Carroll, who was in at the time she was in Dynasty. I don't think I've ever seen a woman as beautiful, probably before or since. I think she's no longer with us now, so she must have been like in her 40s then. But my God, I thought she was just stunning. But that's one reason to maybe go back and try Dynasty next. I don't know. Keep the comments coming, as always, on that and everything else. We're serious about Star Trek, but we're not serious about how we cover it. So, yeah, plenty of laughs, plenty of smut, plenty of everything else. That's what you get when you come for a bit of warp drive. We have no other fantastic facts to cover. I think the most fantastic fact of all is that we've all really enjoyed this week's Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And yes, there is a nervous sort of laugh at the back of my throat because I can't quite believe it either. So it would be nice. It would be nice if this becomes the rule rather than the exception. There's no reason why it can't. They had a lot of money and plenty of time. Lots of hot chicks, plenty of time, and obviously the legacy of Star Trek to fall back on as well. Like you say, Chris, 46? What am I thinking? 46 episodes only. It's a pity we couldn't have had more, and maybe that the characters that they're now starting to dig into, it would have had time to hit some real pay dirt for the writers and the cast. But we are where we are, I suppose.
For you parents who don't speak Klingonese, he's saying, people of Earth, unite and bring your kids to McDonald's for a Star Trek meal. That's a regular hamburger, fries, soft drink, a McDonald's and cookie sampler, and a Star Trek prize. Oh, yes, 5 different boxes based on Star Trek the Motion Picture. Action scenes, jokes, games. He says, take it from a father who knows. His kids love him. McDonald's Star Trek meal available for your kids now.
Available now, 30 years ago. Another mission well logged, everybody. Thank you. We're all smiling, genuinely smiling this time. We've been entertained by Star Trek. I'd almost forgotten what that felt like, but yeah, it's good to be back aboard and to share it to share it with all of you. Updates from Star Trek itself, and obviously from the trenches. So cheers for all the comments, the people who've been watching live on YouTube as well, listening to us ramble on. It's always appreciated. Yeah, please like the video version. It helps more than you think. Subscribe to the channel. Check you're still subscribed if you think you are, because YouTube is not kind to us at all. And hit the cloister bell to get all the notifications. It's always the cloister bell. Always the cloister bell wherever we are. Does anybody... we've got some more comments. We're about to wrap up, everybody. But we'll be talking about more Star Trek, of course, as we move on, including the imminent anniversary. We'll be back in the coming weeks, of course. This is the part where we wrap up the show, but I'm aware that there are special events, occasions happening concerning the 60th anniversary, and we are going to cover it as best we can. As it's the Rabbi's got his Jewish New Year coming up. We've all got various things pulling us in different directions, but stick with us. We're going to cover Star Trek. We're going to cover the 60th anniversary somehow, somewhere, some of it before, some of it during, and some of it afterwards too, because there is an ongoing series at the moment, and this is the week-to-week mission of Warp Drive, to stick with series 4, season 4 of Strange New Worlds, and to keep covering that, of course, as the weeks roll on. And we can backtrack and go over some of the rest of it a little later on. Talking about backtracking, let's go back to the farm, because I know that we're about to. We can't wrap up the show without checking in with everything that's going on with Frank, and I just hope that he's had a better week than you have there, Chris. Maybe not.
We've received this photo. I'm trying to confirm if this is Frank, because we all know that he's gone missing. But it appears, if this is Frank, he's made his way to Canada. So I believe he's in Toronto. It looks familiar. So he's basically experiencing the life of the average Canadian at the moment. And Frank is starting to think that he would rather go back to hell with Satan, because that would be less unpleasant than hanging out in Toronto. Now, we don't know if this is Frank. We don't know what's going on with the pigs, where they've been. And if this is Frank, how he ended up in Canada, namely Toronto. So Frank is not happy. And you can see there's some kittens there. They don't look very happy. There's a beaver. He's really not happy. Nobody's happy. Rest in peace, Canada. Pray for Frank. We're going to send this to a photo expert to determine if this really is Frank. But if it is, he's definitely fallen on hard times. And yes, I would not wish Toronto on my own worst enemy.
Are there, just a Canadian question, Chris, are there just random beavers walking around the streets in Canada?
We do have random bears.
Bears, okay.
But yeah, you'll run into the occasional beaver. They're not happy right now either, because they are our national animal. And pray for the beavers, pray for the bears, the kittens, pray for Frank. We're in hell.
Archie Collin asks, Frank has gone purple-haired. Frank went purple-haired a long time ago. You've evidently not been catching up with us.
He went purple-haired. Yeah, he went purple-haired when he was locked up in prison after doing horrific things on that New Year's Eve. That was before he was stolen by a bunch of creepy people that made him wear a dress in a forest. He's had a long and complicated history. So we'll find out what's going on, and how Frank ended up in hell, i.e. Canada. So yeah,
I'm anticipating, Chris, if I could just kind of guess, and you haven't, I'm just speculating. Now that he's in Canada, I fully expect Frank to end up as PM inside the month.
No, unfortunately, if you put Frank back on the screen, he is way too elegant and way too smart to be our prime minister.
Okay.
And there's no elbows up from Frank.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean. Well, obviously, yeah, we hope things turn around for Canada, certainly. If not for Frank himself, by default, things could start to get better for Frank, whatever color his hair is. But yeah, we're sticking with it. Rabbi, your crackers have remained uncreamed.
They are softening as we speak. They are turning to jelly, which is a very close preamble to creaming. As you know, that can happen. That can happen, especially when you get pulled off. You know, you said you don't want to get pulled off.
I think we may have extended the lifespan, the battery time of the average Rabbi duration here by throwing hot girls up on screen, which
it does help. It's like when you're playing a game and you get to like recharge and now I'm better again. You know, yes, I'm ready for bed. I think that's what I'm trying to say. I'm ready for bed.
Sadly, this is the bit where we end the simulation, Rabbi. But are you streaming over the next few days?
I'm either streaming tomorrow or Monday. It's really dependent on if I have time to make a thumbnail tomorrow morning. I probably do. So I'm probably streaming tomorrow. I'll be talking about this. I'll be talking about Silo. Oh, mate, Silo is the best thing on TV right now. Right? It's always been very good. Now it's just gone knocking out of the park. Huge recommend. Well worth a subscription to Apple Plus for it. I mean, honestly, people should do that. You should get a subscription for a month and just binge watch a bunch of stuff, and that's
what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do with Paramount Plus. I watched the new Running Man film with Glenn Powell the other day. I've got several things sort of lined up. I think, well, okay, because I think it's a trial period for a certain time, and then I've actually got to pay for it. I thought, well, let's see whether I would get my money's worth out of this. I can't remember what it would renew at, but there is a lot on there, lots of movies I've never seen. But the picture quality isn't quite as good as a Blu-ray, and I do like. What's the point of me having the big TV and the players and things like that if I can't?
If you can't get as good as it
so I'm wavering right now, but I really enjoyed The Running Man. So there's several others I've got lined up. So.
That's why I'm specifically watching more things on Netflix. So I was thinking, am I going to cancel Netflix or not? I don't know. I think I might do a rewatch of Peaky Blinders and Breaking Bad and stuff like that, just because it's on Netflix to justify me having it. Weirdly enough, even though I have the disc of them, so I don't know how to explain this. I'm just doing it to annoy Chris. Okay, that's basically why I'm doing it.
Oh, and Farsight, you have family in London, Ontario. Is it that bad? I actually lived in London, Ontario for years. It used to be a great city. No, London, Ontario is now a complete disaster. It's actually one of the worst hit cities in the country because of the drug epidemic. Go look at some videos on YouTube. It's terrifying. But no, London is now just an absolute, I don't have the words. It's horrific.
So is our London. It's a shithole. Thank you, Sadiq.
Well, London, Ontario used to be really nice. It was the forest city. Like back when I lived there, there was a park that I used to take Lexi, my husky, to, and we go for walks. I've seen pictures of what that park looks like now, and like, holy shit! Like, no, London is like you don't. People are terrified to even go downtown in London. It used to have a beautiful downtown. So no, it's unless you live in like. Areas of West London or North London where the millionaires live, those are generally okay, but the rest of the city is it's gone to absolute shit.
You're describing the exact thing that's happened to our London as well. There's a simulation that really does need ending. We need to take action to save our capital city, to vote out Sadiq Khan at the next available opportunity, and then maybe we'll have a city to be proud of on the world stage again. Obviously, I hope things turn around for Canada too. I know it's been a terrible week for you, Chris. So when next we meet, I certainly hope things are better. And anybody who's giving you a hard time, they go and fuck right off, as far as I'm concerned. Whoever they're standing up for, on whatever criteria, everybody's. Particularly if they don't live in Canada, then who are they to judge? But yeah, thank you for coming and chilling out with us and sharing that with us.
We'll do this again next week where we discuss soap operas. So here's the thing to leave you with. I'm very curious because even one of the co-writers wrote this week's episode, which is why I'm willing to give it a chance. It sounds like a terrible idea, but it might be well done. So either I'm going to be happy. Well, I'm never happy. Either I'll be less grumpy next week, or I'll be like I was in that video. So we'll have to see.
We shall see. Gary, thank you for your company as well. Your fantastic contributions, bang on target, as always. What a relief! You must feel very similar to me.
Well, no, I mean it's there's nothing like when you sit down and you watch a fantastic new episode of Star Trek. It's the best thing in the world.
We don't get
I think that, and I hope it continues on with the remaining 4. Fingers crossed. I think what I'm going to do now, though, after the show, I'm going to leap onto eBay. I want to see if somebody's put up one of those McDonald's motion picture meal deals. Preferably, I want to find one preferably with the original hamburger and fries still intact.
They'll probably be edible
after 45 years, they may not look as good, but
I bet they'll look exactly the same.
Keep an eye on your stools. I've been Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks. This is the bit where we warp out as best we can, however we can. But you enjoy the rest of your weekends. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.